Hello all, this is your companion Cyber Froggy. I say companion all the time because we are companions, we are friends, we grow together, we learn together. No unfiltered, no monopoly. So today I'm back again with my another hobby project, which is something I have been working from last I think 1 or 2 months. um, I recently changed my job. Initially, I was into offensive security, red teaming, pen testing, and then slowly turned into the blue teaming. Was leading VM, but my recent job includes threat and detection engineering. This is not related to my job or my company. It's more of what I learned, by working in this domain. And the one of the core part of my job is all about the MITRE framework, which can be used for red teaming, which can be used for purple teaming, and a lot of times into detection engineering and all. So I have another project regarding MITRE, so I want to share a bit about that. So you all know MITRE already. So basically there are all the techniques, and if you go inside any of them, then there are a lot of procedures. Now, I'm not going to cover the basics of MITRE because there are plenty of videos out there, and I have one single policy that whenever I create any video, I do research a lot on YouTube, and I like that I don't clutter the content market. So if there is already a couple of videos which are covering basics of MITRE, how to use that, probably no point of covering that. So yeah, if you know about the MITRE, which is great. If you don't know, please go do some research and you can come back here. Um, right. So all you see here, these are all the techniques and these are the separate techniques. And let's say if you go into any of the techniques, then you'll find a bit of a procedures. Procedures are something which are defined by either the campaigns ran or the softwares being used or the threat actors. Right. So the project that I'm working on, what it is about. So basically, you see the data here. Most of us have seen this page, but what if you want to download the raw data? You can always come to resources part and go to the attack data tools. So if you come here, they have a couple of, attack workbench, Python utilities and stuff. I visited those, I used those, they are really great. Again, um, so yeah, so something similar I wanted to create by my own. So basically, they have a couple of tools. They are made for general purpose. They have use cases, and I thought that probably, I talk to my so many friends, and they have different teams within the SOCs when we talk about the blue teaming. So there are three core teams within SecOps and SOC. So one is a cyber threat intelligence, another is SOC, and the last one is the detection engineering or threat hunting, detection engineering slash threat hunting slash SIEM engineering. So I created this project to target those audience. So yeah, now if you want the raw data of MITRE, then you can always come to resource and attack data tools, and then what you will find here is the version. So um, we have three parts, so mobile, ICS, and enterprise. Most of this time we are only talking about the enterprise one. So currently I have taken these data. So let me show the folders. So this is my entire project folder, and I'm going to explain a lot of things about this. But within that I have a data folder, just here. So I downloaded all the files. Now, what are these files? So basically, each file has a lot of information. So for example, let's say if we open the, analytics file. So for example, where is it? Yeah. So let me open the analytics file. So what you can see is basically, let me zoom in. Yeah, so what you can see basically here, it is all about the analytic definitions that are used for the coverage and telemetry mapping. So when we say telemetry mapping, is all about you're working in a large product base, or product-based company, and you have so much technology landscape. There are different tech stack, and then you are trying to get all the log sources into SIEM, and then you do some sort of mapping with MITRE whether you have detections or not. So basically getting those telemetry of logs uh, and creating a detection rules or the hunting rules, that is called telemetry mapping. So we have a lot of descriptions used for the coverage and mapping. So it has here ID, name, URL, and when it was created and for what. So likewise we have different files here. So one of them, the core, the one of the core is tactics. So obviously we know that there are this many tactics out there in MITRE, which is 14. So we start from the we start from the outside when it comes to the MITRE. So as you can see this one, let me go back here. So we start from the record. So we always start from the left to right, whether you are a red teamer or pen tester. So this is all about the tactics. So I'm going to explain, I'm not going to explain all the files because it's basically the simple Excel file, but the some of the things are really good because when we look at the MITRE from the UI point of view, we only know the tactics, techniques, and little bit of procedures. But for each procedure and each sub technique, there are so many metadata, and all of those metadatas are here. So, for example, let's say you have one tactic which is initial access, which has XYZ sub techniques, and all of those XYZ sub techniques are being used by some of the campaigns or some of the softwares or some of the threat actors. So there is a lot of correlated data here, and I think that is the reason why there is another Excel file which is relationship.xl XLS. So what this basically does, it tells you that if we are talking about what particular tactic, let's say, let me go to the target ID. So for example, so what this essentially tells you that, let's say I'm talking about particular technique or tactic, and that has been mentioned in multiple times in different stuffs. So I would say there is a five relationship here, because it has been mentioned either in group or detection strategy or mitigation. So likewise, if you see some of the common ones, then they would have been mentioned by multiple. So let me do a quick pivot table so you'll get some more idea. So insert pivot table. Okay, this one, and then we will sort it by Z2A. So for example, now if I take this one, and I don't know anything about that, so let me Google it. So yes, atomic red team would map the same thing. Yeah, we also can come here. So this is one of the sub technique, um, which has 001, so application layer protocol, right? Now if we go back to that file and let's say we go here, we filter the same here. Sorry, what was it? Yeah, we'll copy this one, come here and filter this. So you can say that this sub technique has been mentioned in multiple campaigns. So let's say some threat actors are running XYZ holiday campaigns, so they have been used over there. This technique has been used by so many groups which are different threat actors, so you can see those information here. So basically the relationship for this technique is 409. Okay, so this is a wider technique being used. Okay, so yeah, what essentially what I'm trying to say is there are so many different metadata here. So start with tactic, techniques, relationship, what all software, hacking softwares or the team softwares are being used, or the cyber criminal softwares, how many threat actors are there, how many analytics we can create, what are the mitigations we can get, what are the detection strategies we can have. So we have a lot of data. So now, okay, now let's come to the real part. So what is this project about? So this project is about getting this data, doing multiple mapping within one another and trying to create some sort of meaningful action items for the blue teaming. Now, when I say meaningful action items from the blue teaming, which means meaningful action items for purple team within the blue team, for SOC team within the blue team, for detection engineering team within the blue team, for threat intelligence team within the blue team. Okay, so this is what my project is all about. So let's look at this project and how does it work. So basically, I'll show you the high level diagram so that you can understand. So I always create diagrams in Graphies, so you can see that it's very easy. I think you should also learn it. All of my graphs are within the Graphies dot code. So this is called DOT dot code. The moment you change anything, automatically gets changed here. So yeah. Anyway, so the high level diagram, and I'm going to also go to the low level diagram. So we download fresh Excel, let's say 18.1, and all of those things from here, which I already mentioned. So you download all of these, put that into the data folder, okay, and then you run a Python script which will do a lot of correlation, mapping within each other, how many things are related and all, and that is going to create a one two files. So one is an index file, index.html, which is homepage, and that has a lot of analytics which I'm going to show you in 2 minutes, and another is the dashboard dash data.json file. So basically the index file is the main analytics dashboard with cards, charts, operational tools section and all, and the dashboard is a raw JSON payload written by that Python file. So all tool pages, which I'm going to talk about next, are fetching these data from the JSON blob. Okay, so two files, index and dashboard. Apart from that, we also have four different tool files. So when I say tool files, these are, so apart from index.html, we also have four different HTMLs which are taking data from this JSON blob, and they are used for the different purpose and different audience. So one is for the leadership. Okay, so uh, leadership one is there. So that is MITRE gap tool. So basically what it does is a lightweight coverage plus gap planner. So let's say leadership is there, they come to you and they ask you that, okay, what is our telemetry mapping, how much detections we have, how much MITRE coverage we have versus don't have, can I plan my red teaming because how much coverage we have and don't, and if the red team happens, how much we can able to detect and all. So this is all about the leadership. The next one is the CTI one. So it's a CTI detection coverage mapper. So basically, leadership or someone comes or the CTI team wants to map that I have X many rules which are being developed within my detection engineering and SIEM, but how many of them are covering the XYZ threat actors? Because some threat actors are using XYZ techniques, another threat actors are using ABC techniques. So what is my coverage per threat actor and threat campaigns? The third one is the detection engineering. So basically, detection engineering is kind of a workbench that aligns with your telemetry mapping. So let's say you have X many log sources based on which these many detection engineering rules or the hunting rules you can create. So you have X many things you can, based on X many logs available, you can create X many detection rules, or you can cover X many tactics, but out of them, how many are actually covered? So you can just click it. Those are all the interactive tools you can create on covered, not covered, and everything. So that's there. And the last one is a purple teaming. So let's say um, you have given a bash. Bash is not bash, but like you have given a breach attack simulation project to some MSSP or third party, and then you ask them that, okay, you mimic as a scattered spider threat actor, okay, and then you attack us and we will see how much we can detect and not. So all sort of purple teaming planning you can do that, because you can select the threat actor there, and the tool will tell you how many technique and tactics can be scoped into that part. And once they do the breach attack simulation, then how much of your SOC team has detected, or how much of your threat detection team, threat detection engineering team has detected. So you can do all sort of planning over there. So yeah, so this is very high level diagram. I'm not sure if it's required or not, but I'm here to share anything and everything. So I'm going to go into one step granular low level diagram. But before I go there, the message that I want to give from this entire project is one data set, which is MITRE, 4 mission specific workspaces, and 0 backend dependencies, because all of these tools are running on a single HTML standalone, and it does not take anything from your end to my server, so you can use it definitely. And because it's on GitHub pages, you can also get the code. Actually, you can download, you can tweak the way you want, kind of open source. Okay, so one low level diagram. Bear with me if it's too much for you, but I think it will definitely help you to understand. So I got all these, zip, I got all these Excel files downloaded via zip. Each has their own different, columns. So I'm having a generate dashboard.py which runs, locally, and then it creates the workspace dashboard. So basically, it creates the index.html, which is kind of a dashboard, but also all the data is coming from the dashboard data dash JSON, which let me show you probably. So if I go back, so when I run, let's say this file, it generates dashboard data. So so all of those data are being used by the 4 different HTML files, which are tools. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I hope it makes sense. So the way I'm doing is I'm grabbing multiple columns, and if I can think of a different relationship management between all of these, then I'm doing that. So the Python file definitely, does the aggregation and enrichment, and it creates a graph matrix based on the, widgets and stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the entire one. You can, because these are all shared, so you will be able to see that. So once it's created, it creates the 4 different files. I'm definitely not going to go in deep into that because I'm going to show you how to use these tools. But whatever we do on those part, those are all the things which are mentioned here. Okay, so let's slowly start. So, okay, up to here, the summaries, we download the data, we generate the dashboard. The dashboard.json is being used for the 4 different tools plus index.html, which is high level dashboard. That's it. Okay, so let's start with, generating the dashboard. So, I mean, you don't have to generate the dashboard because I have already hosted this entire, project on my website. So you can directly start working with the HTML file. Okay, but if you want the script, probably we can give you later on. I'm still doing some modifications with the risk score being used, but I'm going to explain that later on. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Let me share another screen. Okay, so first that I'm going to show you is the uh, JSON file. So here is the JSON file. So based on all the different access, this is a one single JSON block being created, which will have the summary of all the techniques, and for each of the techniques, if there are any relationship and all. So basically it just creates everything and anything. So that is our main thing. Okay, so now let's go to the main file. So if you visit the MITRE Chintangujar, mitre.chintangujar.com, that is going to load the dashboard for you. So the summary is we got 691 techniques, sub techniques and tactics and software groups, campaigns and all. So campaigns are the different campaigns, groups are the threat actors, and then mitigation plan and detection strategies and all. So because we have this many techniques, we should have this many detection strategies. And these are the 4 operational tools which I was talking about, but I'll come to that part later on. Now, based on the script analysis, I'm showing some sort of highlight. Okay, so 691 techniques. So what are the dominant categories? So we have defense evasion, persistent. So defense evasion is all about, you have CrowdStrike, you have Defender. So the campaigns or the softwares or the threat actors are trying to evade that, because first that would be the first step the moment they land into your system. So once they do that, then they can start expanding their footprint so that SOC or EDR tool won't be able to detect. So basically these are the different techniques covered by the tactics. So as we know that we have those tactics, so I'm showing all of those tactics here by the category. These are the technique covered by the platform. Obviously Windows is the higher one because when MITRE started, it started by Windows, and then ICS and mobile was added. So and then most of the breaches are happening through the Windows part. When I say Windows, as in all the operating system. Okay, so Windows is there. So the enterprise part will cover the Windows and all of these. And then we have some sort of highlights here which you can read. It's like a high level summary. And then we also have the blast radius by software. So let's say most of the time Empire and all of these softwares are being used. I think you might have heard about the Cobalt Strike and Empire. Obviously nowadays all the EDR tools will be able to detect that until and unless you customize those tools in order to add some sort of evasion methodologies which are not known by the EDR tools. So yeah, Emotet, probably it was a malware or ransomware. Yeah, I forgot. But yeah, these are the different tools. These are the mitigation hotspots. So obviously unsecure credentials, because nowadays we see that rather than breaching a company by hacking their technology, which are external facing, it's much more lengthy process. I won't say harder, but much more lengthy process compared to finding credentials which are active, and then someone or the threat actors would use those credentials to log in into your main workbench, whether it's a cloud or on-prem or some sort of Jenkins or some sort of those things. So yeah, we got mitigation hotspots by count, and then we got most versatile groups, because these groups are constantly changing their tactics and techniques, because they know that the moment they breach one organization, and some and many threat intel and antivirus and malware research companies will come, they will do full analysis of how this threat vector worked for particular breach. For example, scatter spider recently, so all the news came out, and all the blog sports all the news came out, all the blog and research came out. So now people know that what are the tactics and techniques. So definitely they're not going to use the same thing next time. So they're moving from this technique to another technique. So these are the threat actor groups which are utilizing different types of techniques. Some of them prefer the same all the time, but they are constantly evolving into those particular techniques, but these are like widespread. um, and then we got an interactive data explorer. So whatever you have seen in all the Excel file, those are all the raw data which I'm presenting into the table format. Okay, so currently it's all, that's why we have a type. So this is a campaign, this is a software, and let's say we have a technique, and then you'll also have a group or threat actor or something. But let's say if you only want to know the analytics, then you can just come and do the analytics part. If you only want to know about the campaigns, then you can do that. Okay, you can also click here in order to change the date and sort by newest to oldest to newest, and much more details into that. Okay, each of these links will lead you to the official link of MITRE. So one more added advantage of using this one. Then we got data component. So these are probably the list of the telemetries which you should cover in a matured company when it comes to the log monitoring and threat hunting and detection engineering. Then we got detection strategy, and then groups, all the different threat actors and all. And then again, this will lead you to the official MITRE, and then mitigation strategies, tactic. Okay, so we got every single data here, right? Now let's talk about the four different tools, okay, one by one. Okay, so the first one we have is MITRE cap tool. So basically what it does, um, it, so this one is mostly used by the management, operational management, and leadership. So if you click here, that's going to go to the new HTML. So obviously out of ICS mobile and enterprise, we are using the enterprise. So what it does, basically we can use this tool to check what is our coverage of MITRE, how much we are covering from the analytics or detections or hunting point of view. So for example, tomorrow XYZ tactic or technique is being used, would we have a coverage or not? So that is something you can use it here. Okay, so the way every tool is created is simple. So you will read the description, then you will read some more description or sub description here, or probably the steps. And now sometimes the HTML page would have a long content, but all you need to focus in the steps. All the steps are marked as orange title with one liner description. Okay, so what can we do here? So for example, there are so many tactics. Okay, let's say if we click on all, that's gonna show us the all 691. But let's say if leadership comes and asks you, okay, when it comes to initial access, how much of we are able to detect. So within the initial access, again, if you want to select only Windows, then you can do that, but I'm currently keeping all. So if you click on the initial access, then there are 22 techniques. Okay, two of them are covered. Average risk is 93 and high risk caps are 20. Okay, uh, two of them are covered is just because when I was playing with this one, I already did cover couple of them. So let me remove that. Yeah, because once you do that, it's gonna store it on your local cache database. Okay, so let's say 22 are there, 0 are covered, average risk is 93. Okay, so if we click on the initial access and then we keep all of these, then definitely that is going to show us that how many techniques are in scope, how many of them are covered because we haven't selected anything, what is the average risk and high risk caps. Okay, now the risk part is slightly confusing, so I'm going to share the calculation method of how we are accessing the risk. Okay, so basically that is not something coming from MITRE, but I'm doing a some sort of base level scoring which is 0.35, and depending upon this particular technique has X number of relationships from the relationship.xl file, then I'm going to add that cumulative score into that. And if this technique comes into one of the critical tactics, okay, so out of let's say 15 techniques, also 14 techniques, if initial access or defensive evasion, some of these are like critical tactics from my point of view, then I'm adding extra score into that, and then I'm clamping that between 0 to 1 in order to define the risk score. But I'm going to share the detailed formula for that along with the graph. Okay, so come back here. So we select the initial access, click on all, 22 techniques are there. uh, these 22 techniques are shown here, as you can see. Now you would have a question that if 22 are covered by initial access, what are these extra? Okay, it is because some of the techniques would have two tactics, right? So obviously you will find initial access, but some of the techniques will have two tactics, so they are also shown here. Okay, that is coming from MITRE raw database. Okay, so this is only highlight, we don't have to do anything. The third one is the update coverage decision. Okay, so now let's say based on your operational workflows and stuff, or beliefs in your database, you think that these are covered. Okay, so you can come here and click on covered, 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 or probably you can do multiple selection and then mark selected as covered. So they are covered. Now if you go back up to the step 2, now it will tell you that okay, within the initial access, because this is our main card initial access, because all 22 are there, so we have 32% of coverage. Okay, because 7 techniques are covered. We are not bothered about this one because obviously if you want to go for the persistent, you can select that one. Okay, you can also do multiple selections. So let's say if you want to have an initial access and persistent, then there are 142. 9 are covered, yes, because we covered through the initial access. Rest of them are pending, but now we are looking at the two cards. So one is initial access and one is the persistent. Okay, so 3% is covered. Obviously this number is higher there, so I'm going to remove this for now. Okay, so based on what is covered and not, if you go down, the last part is a summary. So this is like a high level summary for the leadership or for a weekly or monthly report that okay, this is the scope, we have initial access, all supported, blah blah blah, and this, and how many of them are covered, how many of them are not, what are the top services by the risk and stuff. Okay, so for example, let's say all of these are covered, but this is a gap, right? So phishing, spear phishing via service is like my top gap, so that would be mentioned here. I hope that makes sense. So this is the first tool. We can go back to the dashboard by clicking here. Let's go to the second tool, which is CTI detection coverage mapper. Okay, so what does it do? Basically, you can pick a target threat group or malware family or campaign and check how much coverage you have against that threat actor group. Okay, on a weekly to monthly basis, this is not required. But let's say if we hear a news that I think APT28 is in news and they are back in the market, or Scatter Spider is back in the market, they are hacking multiple companies globally. At that point of time, we might require some ad hoc analysis requested by leadership or external party or something. So we can come here, step 1, choose adversary. Okay, we have so many adversaries here. So let's say if I search for the, you can also search for Scatter Spider, so all of their techniques will be mentioned here. Okay, Step two here, snapshot. So nothing to do here. It is only going to tell you about the scatter spider. You can also click here, which will lead you to the MITRE link about the scatter spider. So that's there. Step three, technique coverage. So let's say scatter spider has all of these sub techniques. There are 64. Okay, but because again this is coming from the old local storage cache. So let's say X, Y, Z things are covered based on my internal rules database and analytics database. Then rest of them are pending. Okay, you can also list only uncovered gaps here. But let's say you have done that level of analysis. Okay, then you can come down and that will generate kind of a summary for your project, whether you want to add them into email or monthly report or ad hoc report or something. The scatter spider is there, how much coverage we have, 17%, some of them are not, what are my top risk and all. Simple, easy. Back to the dashboard. So this is all about the CTI team. uh, Multiple teams can use, detection engineering teams can also come and do that level of mapping. Whether you want to go by the groups, whether you want to go by the malware or all. Okay, I think the next thing I'm going to add is select multiple categories of things. So let's say someone wants to list solar wind as well as cobalt strike both. Okay, then I'm going to add that feature so that we can select multiple, so that you are not stuck by selecting only one. Okay, simple. Let's go back. The third one is the detection engineering workbench. So let's go to the tool. So we can map our current analytics, or you can say detection rules, to MITRE from the highest to lowest risk, and depending upon what log sources are available to you. Okay, so step one, align with this one. So step one, we have to select stuff. So either you do it by keyword, or let's say I'm going to select the initial access. uh, Keeping all platforms, 22 techniques are there, 6 marked as covered because when we went to the previous tool, we marked 6 of them covered, so all fine. Coverage gap is 16, telemetry ready is 13. Now, what is telemetry ready? I'm coming to that on a second. Okay, so let's say 22 are there. Okay, out of which 6 are covered. Okay, how do we prioritize? So, if you see, these are the things which are not covered, they would be listed here. Okay, so let's say if I want to inspect this, then I click here and then I'll get everything about this. And then let's say we develop the detections and now it's covered. So I can mark it as covered. So now total 7. So that will go from this list and then the next one will come. So it will automatically filter from the 100 risk to the lowest risk. So let's say we mark a couple of them as covered. So they will go away from here, and then you come down, you will have again analytics that within the initial access you covered this many. Okay, so again same thing, but from a different viewpoint. Now this is more important for a one large company to build the threat hunting rules or detection rules or analytic rules, whether you are using Sentinel or some other SIEM, Google Chronicle or some other SIEM, then at least you should collect all of these log sources. Okay, these are not the name of the log sources, but these are the requirement for the log sources type. Okay, so let's say you must have active DNS logs which are coming into your SIEM so that you can do some sort of detection engineering or threat hunting. You must have application log content, you must have cloud storage access and all. So MITRE gives us the list of a complete 360-degree log sources, which we also call it as telemetry. And then that will help us to do prioritize detections and all, because I cannot create a detection if I don't have a log source, and if I ingest a log source but if I don't know what detection I need to create, so that is going to solve this part. Okay, so for example, let's say you don't know anything about the number of techniques that you should use or tactics that you should use. Okay, so for example, there are some sensitive files, and let's say files have been accessed. Okay, I'm going to keep it simple. So let's say some of the DNS logs are there and we ingest that. Okay, so I can click that. Okay, my DNS logs are coming in, and that is going to tell me that okay, you have to cover these many tactics or techniques. Okay, then I can search about this one, prioritize that, mark it as covered. Okay, Not from here, but just letting you know that you have to cover this one. If I have multiple of this, okay, so that is going to tell me how much different techniques I can create. Okay, so if I refresh it, then definitely it's going to tell me that these are all the techniques and techniques I can create in my detection and hunting rules, or detection engineering. 305 more. Okay, so I'm going to add a small UI change where you can download all of these or IDs, and then you can pass it on to your MSSP. You can pass it on to your detection engineering team, and they're going to focus on that one, because no point of focusing on random techniques and tactics while you don't have a log sources. So this is going to solve that part. So you select the what log source you have in your telemetry, and based on that, it is going to suggest you about the tactics and techniques. And then all the summary that, okay, how many log sources are enabled, how many techniques and tactics are covered, and then you can share that plan with everyone. Okay, so again, all good with the operational coverage when it comes to detection engineering based on the log sources and telemetry. The last one is a purple team adversary simulation. So what is adversary simulation? Basically, we move we are slightly maturing around the globe when it comes to the pen testing and all. So initially we were doing a lot of VA and VAPT. Slowly we moved to a professional PT and very focused PT, and then we moved to the red teaming, and nowadays a new terminology is being used is breach attack simulation. So while all of those previous part are necessary and they are running on a BAU basis, sometimes on an ad hoc basis companies give project to consulting firms to do the BAS, breach attack simulation. So in that, what you do, you tell them that, okay, based on our CTI team's suggestion, as a retail company or as an entertainment company, likely to face threats from these top 10 threat actors. Okay, so let's go with the one which is, for example, scatter spider, and we want to do breach attack simulation exactly how they would come and breach us using the techniques and tactics that they are using. So if you're planning that sort of thing and you know that you already have the logs, you might have a detection capability, and you want to check how much coverage you can have based on scatter spider attack or something, then you can use this tool. So scope, let's say, if I don't select this, let's say if I select a random, not group. Okay, let's say I'm going for this threat actor. Okay, and that will show me all the different tactics and techniques that they are using. And let's say I'm okay, this expect detect comes from the previous tool that we have. If you have selected the log source, and if you have selected the tactic that this is covered, then it will show us that you can expect the detect if you are likely to be targeted using this technique. Okay, but when you launch this tool for the first time, you are all likely to get the likely gap. Okay, so basically let me find a smaller one. Okay, so this is again software. So let's say APT30. Okay, it is one of the threat actor. Okay, um, imagine that there is a gap here. Okay, so if the APT30 attacks my organization, probably they're gonna use these two sub techniques. Okay, so I want to add both of them into the breach attack simulation project. Okay, so I have already added both of them. Okay, and I'm gonna, okay, let me remove all, and I'm going to add only these two. Okay, now based on the previous tool, it is suggesting us that you might be able to detect this because you have selected the log sources, you covered this sub technique in the previous tool when you were mapping the MITRE. But let's see how it goes. Okay, so you have added these two in your scope. Breach attack simulation happens, and your SOC or threat detection engineering team is able to detect these two techniques. Okay, or let's say one of them was detected because you have a log source. Let's say you detected this one, but you missed this one. Okay, so you can select detected and miss. Okay, and that is the same thing. I mean, if you select it from here or the step 3, once the breach attack simulation happens, you select what is detected, what is missed, or both of them detected or both of them missed. Then you do that, and that is going to create a summary that if we are being attacked by APT30, uh, then two of the sub techniques are there. We detected one, we missed one, so probably we need to do some work on this one. So that is going to create a high level summary. Okay, I know this is too much because the information might be overloaded, but I'm kind of a guy. I just want to release all in one go because I get into the flow. So I released this one video which has a lot of tool, a lot of data, a lot of architecture, a lot of diagrams, a lot of contextual data, what a lot of use cases and stuff. So you might want to see this video probably multiple times in order to digest all the information and how you can operationalize that. So I think that would be good. Uh, Probably, if time permits and if it is feasible, I'll create a feature here that you can come and upload your number of tactics and techniques, and that is going to tell you how much coverage you have. Now, when you do that, I'll make sure that nothing comes on my server. It still stays there, probably in the local cache or something, but I'll have to check. I don't think so it's possible, but I'll have to check if there is any workaround or not. So yeah, this is all about my MITRE, analytics observatory project. So I hope you like it. If you like it, please share it with everyone. Thank you so much.